Puberty is when you grow body hair. Puberty is hard, and especially for transgender youth like myself. Let's talk about puberty. Hello everybody, and today's video is aimed at the medical professors instead of my casual viewers. I attended a meeting the other day, like I do most days, and seemingly transgender teens don't talk about puberty online. Well, hello there. I'm a YouTuber, and I have a brain issue and a chromosome duplication. And I'm not autistic, because seemingly like 80% of trans youth are autistic. I'm not on that. That was no offense intent. I dropped out of school and I went to college a year early, and I worked 9 till 5 every single day. So I think let's start at the point when I was 11. Page 1, Chapter 1. That was a joke, there's only bullet points here. At 11 years old, I went to school. At 12 years old, I left that school and went to another school. It was also that school that I started my first ever YouTube channel. 13, I was nearly murdered, and I was in my first ever big production after leaving my mainstream work, which was theatre. At 14 years old, I went back to a different school, and I also started with the Welsh National Opera, and had my first ever proper relationship. And yes, it was with a biological female who identified as female, and also was bi. Yes, I had standards back then. Does that even count as a standard? I don't know. At 15, I was exposed as being transgender at school, and I did another production with Welsh National Opera. I starred in Oliver the Musical Theatre production, and I started at college, and I had my first ever sleepover, and it was at that point I got a title. At 16, I left college, and at 17, I went full-time on YouTube. Probably the best mistake I've ever made in my entire life. The worst part of it that I don't get an education, but the best part of it, I get to make videos every single day and not go to bed until like 4 in the morning, but that's a different story altogether. So now let's talk about puberty. That's how you spell puberty, kids. They don't teach you that in school. B-O. For me, body odor was one of the worst things happening to me while I started puberty. Please note that I ever only made it to stage 2 of puberty, which is like only just starting. I never fully developed. I started puberty at like 14. And being a fairly active kid like I was back in the day, I invested a lot of money into deodorants and perfumes. And I still do. Now, the reason that I feared body odor the most out of every single change puberty would bring me was the fact that I just did not want to smell bad. I had spent many a years in changing rooms to the biological male sex gender peoples. They smelled horrible. There was no way I was ever going to let myself smell like that. If you've ever been in a male's changing room, then you'll know why. Don't even get me started on school changing rooms. That's another whole level. Muscle growth. I also heavily feared growing muscles. I don't know why. I liked being muscly as a kid, but puberty came around and I was like, oh no. This is something that I don't want. And now I'm a limp fish anyway. There was definitely a point in my childhood where I was like,
right, muscles, no, get away. I'm going to be fat when I grow up.
And then I ended up having an eating disorder. And this is what I look like. That is not good. And look at me now, I'm still fat. Body hair. Facial hair was something that I had always feared from an early age. And more so when all of my classmates had already had full-on developed moustaches. Not gonna be funny, but there was 15-year-olds with proper like swirly moustachy things that looked like this. That pretty much sums up my class. The main reason I was so scared of getting facial hair was the fact that every single person around me was complaining about shaving every so often. I hated razors, and I hated the idea of putting a razor near my skin. I was 14 and there was no way I was ever going to shave when I grew up. The idea of getting hairy arms and hairy legs was also an idea that freaked me out. Now, I make a video every single day, and you peeps know that there aren't many things in life that scare me. Hairy arms? That is what scares me. Gosh, that sounds so weird saying. Now, there's one sort of hair that grows during puberty. And personally, I wasn't too scared of growing any. This is too awkward, let's just cut this. Genitals. Trigger warning, this won't be graphic. I hope it's not graphic. So far, you've learnt that I'm scared of body hair, let alone genitals. I wouldn't even count that as a fear. How do I even describe the next level up? And then times that by 21 million trillion times. The idea of anything growing freaked me out the window. That's it, roll it out, everybody out. Everybody out. There was nothing that could even come close to preparing for what happened next. That probably sounds really bad. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? I've never been so awkward on camera. I'm not an awkward kid, but this is shook. The side effects was just as bad. Anytime anything happened, I was shook. And mummy, it's not shaken, it's shook. I'm a cool kid. This is literally giving me extreme dysphoria talking about this stuff. I'm so shook. Do it for science. I can't continue. Voice. Voices was the one thing that didn't scare me at all. The idea of my voice getting any deeper than it already was seemed like a good idea. I hated how I used to sound. And so did the majority of people, like my brother, my parents, and my friends. Everybody hated it. Roll a clip.
All I've done so far is just built up the walls, and hopefully next video I will make some windows.
And the fact that I used to sing for my job, I was quite excited for my voice to change. I honestly believe no one would watch me on YouTube if my voice was different from what it is now. I am considering having a voice surgery to make it higher, but like I wouldn't, like if it was back then, I wouldn't want that voice to be now. Does this make English sense? Question mark. But ow, to the roof, ow. Headbutt to the roof. But before I get any more dysphoric, we're going to end today's video right here and right now. So thank you so much for watching, and remember as always to like, comment and subscribe. If you have any questions about anything that I've said in this video, comment it down below. I'm happy to help out. And as I've already said, if you're doing this for a research project or whatever, just drop me an email. I can give you details. Just let your professor person know. And if you want to see this series return even further, make sure you tell me what you want to know about. I mean, I've talked about puberty. How can it get any worse? But on that note, it's time to say goodbye. Do you know what the saddest time of day is? It is when I have to say goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye bye. See you tomorrow.